here again, and welcome to my review of the MacBook Pro 16-inch. I feel so fortunate that I'm able to review this machine because when Apple released it, my first thought was, yeah, I can't get that machine. But by just pure luck, a very dear friend of mine was in the market for a used MacBook Pro, which was barely used. I had literally just gotten that 13-inch MacBook Pro in early September, but I saw this 16-inch MacBook Pro when it came out last month, which was November, and I said, I have to at least try to get that machine. It literally checked every box for me. It went down the list of things I had been waiting to see in a larger MacBook Pro. And like I said, just by pure luck and good fortune, I was able to sell my other Mac, and I did purchase this 16-inch MacBook Pro. Granted, there was like a month of time in between because there were a couple of stupid mistakes I made with my Apple Card, but I corrected those mistakes. I won't go into that story, but needless to say, here we are with my 16-inch MacBook Pro. It has been an absolute delight testing this machine for the last week or so, and I'm glad to say that it just fits my tech lineup perfectly. It fits my needs perfectly, and then some. And I'll go into all that in this video. I'll talk about all my testing from performance of the Intel Core i7 9th Gen 6-core CPU to the AMD Radeon Pro 5300 and graphics to the 11-hour battery life thanks to the 100-hour watt battery, and so on and so on. We'll get to the entire spiel of specifications and my thoughts on them. But just some opening thoughts. I have to say, I want to give Apple a lot of credit because Apple finally listens to its pro-level consumers, as I'll say later in this video, and they finally listened to us and just went down the line and fixed a lot of key issues, especially the keyboard, and just gave us what we wanted. And so I'm really glad to see that with this machine. And while there might be a couple of weird things like the exclusion of the Wi-Fi 6, that was kind of odd that they didn't include that. As well as still just that crappy 720p webcam, which I'll also talk about later in this video. Besides a couple of weird things that they didn't include with this upgrade, the rest of it across the line was just outstanding. Apple just has done such a perfect job with this 16-inch MacBook Pro. And I know that some of you might be thinking, I have definitely had a love-hate relationship with Macs over the years. I have gone back and forth. I bought Windows PCs, which there's nothing wrong with that either. I love Windows 10, I don't deny that. But I've gone back and forth. I've debated on leaving Mac entirely, and then in some cases I came back within a couple months. And the longest I went without a Mac was like a year and a half. So I go in and out with my love-hate thing for Mac. Now I think with this 16-inch MacBook Pro, I have finally just hit that sweet spot where I'm just so beyond happy with this machine. I can't fathom a situation where I fall out of love with this Mac. So that's the good news. Now, the bad news is some of these things that the 15-inch MacBook Pro was criticized for, some of that could still be applied to the 16-inch, such as the cost. You know, and I get it, these are pro-level machines intended for pro users, but still, the cost is sometimes something that I think Apple could, I don't know, I guess you could say reevaluate, because while they're definitely worth it, they're worth the $23.99, or $2,200 if you take advantage of the education discount, but still, I feel like for the specifications they include, which is now a much better value, I will say that, but I think they still could bring that price down gradually, which I know that's like the most un-Apple thing ever. But then again, we also didn't think that Apple would do half the things they've done in the last few years. So nothing's impossible. I think they definitely could make their pricing even more fair. That would be like one thing I thought about. I'm trying to think of something, almost grasping at straws here, honestly, things I could criticize this for, because really, it is just so fantastic in every element that I couldn't say enough good things about it. So let's jump right into this now, guys, and talk about some of the highlights of this machine and why I do believe it is worth every dollar and should be your next Mac investment. The defining upgrade of this 16-inch MacBook Pro is, of course, the display itself. Now, while the 16-inch size alone is not going to be something compared side by side with the 15-inch that's going to blow you away, I will say this: the slimmed down bezels definitely help to make it an immersive feeling when you're watching content. Now, of course, this shares the same 16 by 10 aspect ratio as the 15-inch model, and it has a 3072 by 1920 resolution, which totals out to 226 pixels per inch. Now, of course, it also features the T3 wide color gamut. It features 500 nits of brightness, and it features two-tone if you like that. I'm not a big fan of two-tone personally, but if you like two-tone, it is there. So it has the wide arrangement of quality display features that you expect and love from Apple's notebooks, with a few special add-ons that only the 16-inch model gets. Now, the nice thing about this is that whether you're watching content or doing video work or doing any kind of creative task, that extra screen real estate will be helpful, but not groundbreaking. I wouldn't say that it's something that is a deal breaker, or rather it's something that is going to sway you one way or another from the 15-inch model, which you will very likely see on steep discount in 2020. But I will say this: if you're focused on the money aspect of it, definitely the screen, the enhancements of the display alone will definitely be worth it in terms of cost. And the value of what it's giving you is definitely worth that investment. It's just a beautiful display, and I can't say enough good things about it. I've done editing on this. I've watched content, as you can see right here. I'm watching a little bit of the Learning Show, which is one of my favorite shows, if not the only show that really catches my interest currently on Apple TV+. But, no matter what you're doing, the enhancements of the 16-inch MacBook Pro's display will definitely be the defining improvement of this notebook. One of the key improvements of the 16-inch MacBook Pro was actually a return to the past for Apple, which is something that Apple very rarely does. So this new generation of MacBook Pro features a return to the scissor mechanism keyboards, fairly similar to what we found in MacBook Pros of the past. Now, up until a few years ago, Apple always used scissor mechanism keyboards, but then they went to something called butterfly mechanism keys, which I'm sure a lot of you already know. But these keyboards proved to be problematic for Apple, and there's a lot of issues. There's issues of dirt getting underneath the keys and so on. So there had to be a lot of repairs, and things just got very messy from there. Now, thankfully, at least for this model of the MacBook Pro, Apple has returned to the pleasant to type on, smooth and great tactile feel, great key travel, MacBook, scissor mechanism keys for the 16-inch MacBook Pro. Now, that does not mean that they are exactly similar to what we had a few years ago, but they are definitely very similar. And in my testing so far, for the past week or so, it has been just an absolute pleasure to type on, and I am so glad that we once again have the scissor style keys on the MacBook Pro 16-inch, and hopefully in 2020 Apple will bring these key changes, no pun intended, to the lower end lines of their MacBooks. So on top of that though, Apple also gave us an even larger trackpad. So if you are coming from a 13-inch MacBook Pro, like in my case I was, this is another hugely welcome improvement. This trackpad is absolutely huge and spacious. And for all of us that know MacBooks, this is a cream of the crop right here. This is why you spend good money on MacBook Pro, because the trackpads are just top notch. So very two much appreciated features right here alone. That's the most surprising new improvement of the 16-inch MacBook Pro, is the absolutely insane speaker quality. Now, I've heard some pretty amazing speakers on larger notebooks, but these speakers, my friends, take the cake by a long shot. They are just incredible. Apple has implemented a 6-speaker system that include subwoofers that cancel out the vibration inside the speaker, so that essentially you get less of that vibration that makes the audio sound a little bit less full, and it has some weird sound to it. Instead, the audio just sounds crisp, and you can hear every instrument, and obviously it adds a lot of volume as well. But it's not all about increased volume. It's just the audio quality is top notch. The easiest way I can explain it is that it is quite simply like Apple has jammed a HomePod into a 16-inch notebook form factor. It is just incredible. I'll give you guys a little demo right now. But again, listening to it through your phone or through whatever computer you have currently will not do it justice. You have to see this in person. And it is just incredible. And this is at only half volume, folks. I'll briefly raise it up a little bit more. It's room-filling audio. Absolutely amazing. And I had to choose one feature that I thought was like the best in terms of most impressive of this computer. Besides the sheer performance of it, it would be definitely the audio. When it comes to the performance of the new MacBook Pro 16-inch, Apple has gone all out to make sure that its pro-level customers are finally satisfied in every capacity. Now, it's almost like Apple went down the line and just gave us upgrades across the board in terms of CPU, GPU, and of course storage. I guess I shouldn't say it's almost like that. It is like that, because that's precisely what they did. Starting with the CPU, of course, they now offer a 2.6 gigahertz 6-core Intel Core i7 CPU, or a 2.3 gigahertz 8-core Intel Core i9 configuration. Now, these are the top of the line, the top dogs, if you will. They are the top dogs of the notebook processors, guys. These are just going to be an absolute performance beast, regardless of what configuration you go with. Now, of course, it starts with a 2399 configuration or a 2799 configuration. But of course, these can be upgraded from there. These two are just the two starting points. Now, there's a lot of talk on YouTube. You see a lot of these more, I hate to say this, but wealthier YouTubers that make a crap ton of money off their videos on YouTube that will spend 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 grand on these MacBook Pros. Now, while that's all great and dandy, don't be afraid to be realistic and objective about what you actually need out of a machine. See, I knew from the start, going into this 16-inch MacBook Pro investment, I knew that I was going to be more than satisfied with the work that I do with this baseline configuration of the 16-inch. I almost hate to call it baseline because it's just so good as it is. There's no need to spend thousands upon thousands of dollars, and by most people's standards, this amount of money itself is quite a lot. But the good news is, I have zero regret investing in Apple products for this reason alone, because I know that you're getting the reliability, at least in my personal experience, with Apple products. And you get that performance, which is this icing on the cake. Apple has finally combined the value of buying an Apple computer with actually the value of the specifications of the components that they're including with it. For example, this year, with this 16-inch model, we now get the upgraded AMD GPUs, which are now the 5300N or the 5500N, which now have AMD's switch to the 7 nanometer technology, which is going to pack even more performance for the dollar value, and most people will just be satisfied with either configuration. Of course, there's a lot that goes into that decision. You have to decide what is best for you and your needs in terms of what kind of work you do. For myself personally, I do some video work, I do some other creative tasks, which don't always require insane graphics power, but it is definitely useful in every capacity that I have found so far in the last week or so that I've had this machine. It has proven to be well worth the investment. Now, in terms of everything else, I did download the free version of Geekbench, that you can also do when you get your MacBook Pro as well. And of course, you get the compute scores as well as the OpenCL scores. So starting off with the OpenCL, that's 22,301. And I won't go into all the technical jargon, but long story short, this thing is a performance beast in terms of graphics, as well as, of course, the CPU, 1089 single core score and 5637 as a multi-core score. So either way you slice it, folks, you are not going to be disappointed by the sheer performance of the 16-inch MacBook Pro. It's honestly, guys, very impressive and well worth every penny that you're going to invest into this machine. Another nice upgrade that Apple included in the 16-inch MacBook Pro is the inclusion of a studio quality microphone arrangement. Now, what does that mean? Well, it means that for content creators, if you do videos or podcasts, you may not have to plug in a dedicated microphone. As you can probably see in the background behind me, my Blue Yeti is on my desk over there. You might not need something like that, at least Apple says, because of the microphone upgrades that are in this machine. Now, that's a really nice improvement, and in my testing, I have to say I think that the built-in microphones are top-notch. Definitely the best microphones I ever heard in a notebook. Now, the downside is that they didn't upgrade the webcam, which I'm using to film this clip right now. As you can see, it just looks like the same 720p webcam that we always get with these MacBooks. And I think that, it's late 2019, going into 2020. Come on, Apple, upgrade your game here when it comes to your cameras. There's no reason that MacBooks at this point in time and going ahead for the future should not have Face ID. There's just no reason why they can't. Microsoft Surface devices all have Windows Hello, and I understand that these notebooks, the MacBook Pros do have Touch ID, but still, I really think that Face ID could be included, and no, that doesn't mean take out the Touch ID either, but just include, goodness forbid, two different options here. But Apple doesn't do that. That's not the Apple way. But I'm hoping maybe eventually they will add Face ID to their Macs. Until then, we are stuck with that crappy 720p webcam. But at least on this 16-inch model, we get these nice studio quality microphones. The question now becomes, will they carry those microphones over to the lower end MacBook Pros in 2020? Only time will tell. Apple has also included a 100-hour watt battery with this new 16-inch model, which is supposed to last up to 11 hours of what Apple calls wireless red use. Now, in my testing, it didn't quite get 11 hours exactly with the usage that I was doing, which was a mix of iMovie, which I know a lot of people laugh. No, it's not Final Cut Pro, but I don't need that for my work. Just iMovie, some content watching, web browsing, yes, as well as, of course, some emails, iMessage. I got almost 11 hours in some cases, and this is actually just simply doing a crap ton of stuff with this machine and just not plugging it in all day long from the time I woke up to the time I went to bed. So it did pretty much last 11 hours, but not exactly that much. So very impressive battery life either way. Definitely the most impressive battery life that I've seen on a notebook of this size, which again, gotta give it to Apple. As always, Apple just excels at so many different elements of the computing experience, and this is one of them. Apple's the only one that can do USB-C charging in this way with a notebook this size with this great a battery life. So again, if that's something you care about, again, it comes back to what Apple offers versus what the other guys don't. So again, battery life, really nice improvement over the 15-inch model, and certainly a nice improvement, though not massively huge over the 13-inch models, but again, think of what you're getting for that nice battery life. In this video, I do just want to say a couple more quick things. First thing I want to mention too is, don't forget guys, if you are new to this generation of MacBook Pro, or perhaps you haven't bought one in a few years or even several years, like I have a couple of friends that literally have not bought a new MacBook Pro in about 8 or 9 years because they just lasted this long. So if you're coming from a much older model, please note that the only I/O connections, as you call them, on these newer MacBook Pros are of course the USB-C Thunderbolt ports, meaning that you will need to buy an adapter to use something like USB Type A's, also known as just regular USB ports, Ethernet, SD card slots, things of that nature you will not see on these MacBook Pros. So you will want to make sure that you have a dongle for that. I call them dongles. And the common joke that I always say is, now we're all in dongle heaven. It's not really that funny because really it can be quite inconvenient. So I guess, I know I said earlier that I don't really have too many complaints, and I honestly don't. This computer is just fantastic all around. But if I had to say a couple little gripes that I had, one of them would be that I still wish that Apple would realize that Pro users would like more connections than just USB-C. Although I do fully understand that USB-C is the superior standard in all regards, it still would be great to have a couple USB Type A's, perhaps an SD card slot, God forbid even an HDMI connection perhaps. I mean, these are all things that Pro users use every day, and it would still be wonderful to have. But sadly, this is the direction that Apple is clearly taking. There's no going back from that. So it looks like we'll just be using USB-C, which again is not a bad thing necessarily, but it would be nice to have. So another thing to note, I guess I'm just kind of griping about at this point, is of course AppleCare. Now, AppleCare, if you don't know, for the 16-inch MacBook Pro is $379. Now, ooh, that just stings. That just stings. Even for Apple standards, that hurts in the gut. I mean, that punches you right in the gut to see that price tag. Considering that you pay so much money. I mean, I think I paid a lot, but there's YouTubers that, like I said earlier, that paid 5, 6, 7 grand a year for these MacBook Pros. And I get it, it's one of those things where Apple does provide great service, I'm not denying that, but at the same time, come on Apple, there's no reason that you couldn't bring that price down gradually. I'm not saying magically lower it down to $100 overnight, or $200 overnight, or $250, whatever, but that would be honestly a much more fair price, around the $200 price point. But no, instead they choose to go with $379. Which after tax is even more expensive, which is just unprecedented. That's a lot of money, and I'll tell you, for somebody like myself who has historically hated guarantees. And I know there's the one school of thought of, well, why wouldn't you want that peace of mind? But then there's the other school of thought that, wow, you already paid a crap ton of money for this system, and there's a very high chance that nothing will go on for the entire lifetime of this machine, especially if you're like me and you treat all of your devices with the absolute utmost care. There's a good chance nothing will go wrong. But there's always that chance that something could go wrong. And I would say it's usually a 5 to 10% chance. So we'll say a 90 to 95% chance that nothing will go wrong. So is that percentage enough to justify spending another $379 plus tax on AppleCare Plus? And I just don't know, folks. I'm struggling. That answer I can't give you guys because I haven't ruled out buying it yet. I still have time to decide. But that is just so much money. And I'm actually open to your guys' input on this. Comment down below. Do you think I'm crazy for not just buying it outright? Or do you think that you agree with me and AppleCare is just too expensive and Apple should be a little more forgiving considering that they're charging honestly top dollar for their machines? And again, that's not a statement about whether or not they're worth it. I openly say that these machines are well worth every penny. But is AppleCare worth every penny is my main gripe about this. But aside from that, guys, thank you so very much for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up and a subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I put in probably the most time into this video than I have in quite a while in any other video. So I would be so appreciative if you would share the heck out of this video, give people my channel link if you don't mind doing so. I'm really hoping that in 2020 I can increase my subscriber base and maybe even start doing something on a regular basis. I don't know, maybe a live stream every day or something. Because I really enjoy doing this, folks. This is my passion. And I am so thankful for the opportunity to do these videos for you guys and to talk to you guys when you guys do comment on my videos. It makes my day. So thank you so much for watching, and until next time, peace out for now and Happy New Year.